It's my pleasure to invite you in this inspiring theme-based speaker series, and we have Professor Ching-Sing Tsai, professor at the Chinese University of Hong Kong and Associate Dean of Higher Education. He will be discussing reframing of the technological pedagogical content knowledge framework as the intelligent pedagogical content knowledge IPAC for AI. Without further ado, Professor.
Thank you. So thank you for coming to this talk, and good morning. I'm from CUHK. So I am a teacher educator. I'm not a technologist. And the title that I want to share today is In Search of Intelligent Pedagogical Content Knowledge. It means what it means. Okay, I am still searching for the intelligent technological pedagogical knowledge. So I don't really know how to solve this problem yet. But we have done some research, and then I will share with you what I know. Okay. So the traditions of technological pedagogical content knowledge actually was a variation from Lee Schumann, the PCK. In the era of PCK 1986, the teacher's pedagogical reasoning of content knowledge built the bridges for students who don't know the content knowledge towards knowing the content knowledge. So at that era, teacher is the center. Then in 2006, actually in 2001, the first crafting of the term technological pedagogical content knowledge started. But the seminal article is Mishra and Kaler, Nice, and Angley and Valanidis. So they came up with this technological pedagogical content knowledge, and at the initial stage of this TPAC, the measuring was a problem because of all the overlapping knowledge that is involved. But the measuring problem now is resolved. The more important thing about the TPAC is when you are building TPAC, which is a kind of a teacher's knowledge that teachers derive from their teaching practices and their experimentation with teaching practices. The important thing about this TPAC is that you need to define what is the TPAC for, because you can have a kind of TPAC that is reproductive in nature. You use PowerPoint, you present, and then the teachers talk. So that's a kind of traditional TPAC. So the important thing about the last era from 2006 to around 2020, ICT for knowledge creation, which I think Carburetor and Marlene Skadamalia discussed a lot. ICT as mind tools and cognitive tools for 21st century learning, Jonason's discussed a lot. I drew on this notion and then developed the TPAC towards this area. So my teacher training is also towards getting the trainee teachers or the in-service teachers to create TPAC for knowledge creation, not for knowledge reproductions. Yeah, so the last article that I wrote on TPAC explicitly, we don't measure TPK and TCK anymore. We measure directly TPAC, the final construct, with 4 subdivisions like TPAC for collaborative learning, TPAC for self-directed learning, TPAC for authentic learning, and TPAC for reflective learning. So these are, I think, important things to take note when we are doing this TPAC. Later, this should transfer to the AI TPAC. Okay. So currently, the breakthrough of AI seems to demand a new form of TPAC, intelligent pedagogical content knowledge, which I dub it as IPAC. And this has been pointed out by Dias and Nussbaum earlier this year, the need for pedagogical intelligence. And research, Chiu et al. 2024, we did a review. Okay, so the research on AI in education. reflects a weak connections to pedagogical perspective or instructional approaches. And particularly this is for K to 12. I written a short abstract for this, and I say I will work towards giving a review of existing state. So I searched the Web of Science. Within the Web of Science, AI and educations, there are 4,000 something in the educational research database, 4,000 something articles. So if you refine it to just, with one more term, technological, pedagogical content knowledge, there are currently about 11 studies. I was in one or two of the studies. So this field is really just beginning. And this field actually represents one of the important understanding that we need to build among teachers for AI to enter into subject matter teaching. So before I can build in search of this thing, I thought we set up an end goal. What do we want to see from this so that we can work education towards this? It's similar to like Breiter and Jonassen's. They work out the role of technology and they work out what this technology is for. If we want to build the teacher's TPAC, we have to imagine what at the end of the day the end goal should be. So the ideal TPAC, I try to articulate is epistemic coupling or epistemic collaboration or epistemic cooperations. We are looking for a human plus machine coupling to optimize knowledge constructions for common good and human development. Young et al. Pointed out similar kind of notion. They put it like human-centered AI to improve human condition. So their notion of AI development is towards system development for human-centered. So I think we should work, if you are teacher educator, we should work towards this ideal TPAC. Yeah, I will try to illustrate some later. Current use of AI I put it in a very broad way. So AI education refers to teaching people about AI. For the past 5 years, I'm involved in this type of AI literacy, developing AI literacy program for Hong Kong. And the program was well received and with some very good outcome. The program that we developed has been adopted by the government. So in terms of AI education, I think we can further divide it for this field, for the TPAC, you can roughly divide it into four main sectors, and they require different types of TPAC. AI education, if you look for customized intelligence system, or there isn't a best representation that I can think of is teachable machine. When you are teaching AI education, AI literacy, teachable machine is one of the mostly reported in literature, and it is an effective way to get students to start understanding what is AI. And in terms of generative AI, maybe machine-generated code is one of the representative use of AI for AI education. For AI in education, there are existing, before this generative AI come, there are already many intelligent tutoring systems, automatic speech recognition system that has been designed for, especially in China, for language learning. China has a very peculiar phenomenon called English speaking anxiety. So they use this automatic speech recognition to help students to practice with the machine. If the machine can understand what I'm talking about, then I go into the classroom and do some form of public speaking. We have published a series of papers on this earlier, before the generative AI. AWE, there's a whole series of writing on it. It's automated writing evaluation. Let me try. I don't know what happened.
They're just reloading, sir.
Oh, okay. So they are reloading. That's what I get. So we are at this AI in education. AWE, quite a lot of research. AI as Socrates, I think the Khan Academy, Kamigo is doing this. So it doesn't give you answer like intelligent tutoring system, but it gives you question like Socrates to question and guide students towards the answer. So these are, there are two types of AI that we are looking at. Generative AI is the starting part. Generative AI for all subject matters. I think the direction is moving towards pedagogical agents, which I will explain in the last slide. So there are two types of AI. If we are talking about customized intelligence system, usually the form of TPAC is already created in the machine. The teacher need minimal design effort to use this machine to help their students to learn. But the learning may be more geared towards reproductive learning. But for generative AI, currently in the K-12, there isn't a lot being researched or being published. So starting from qualitative studies, whenever we want to build TPAC, I think there's a need to understand the affordances of the machine or of the technology. This 24/7 access to language editor, content provider, content generator, feedback provider, interlocutor, debater, learning partner. And as companion, this is one of the papers that I have written with my master students. So it's accepted. And this generally tells us that the university students, how do they use AI, generative AI. And their use actually represent the affordances that the user are perceiving. One of the key points here that I want to point out is as a content provider, when we were writing the paper, we did some lead review. Within the first 6 months, okay, in the mid of 2023, there are a large volume of education research within education research database that talks about professor testing the AI machine, generative AI, with medical tests and with physics, with chemistry. They are testing whether the AI can provide good answer. The general conclusion is this generative AI, they are like a 80+ percentile performers for all subject matter. All those that are tested. In physics, like fluid dynamics, it can't perform very well. In chemistry, some of the very advanced and complex things, it can't perform. So that's what we have currently. You have like a learning partner that knows the field up to the 80 percentile, up to university level, about university year 3, year 2. Okay, so it's a good interlocutor, debater, and learning partner. And as a companion, the students are talking to AI when there's no friend around. The other important research that actually emerged is the 3 teachers' roles that has emerged for teachers who use AI for language education, orchestrating different resources with quality pedagogical decision, making students active investigator, and raising AI ethical awareness by Joan Lee. I think this is a very powerful one. They also found the same thing in terms of the roles of AI. One of the peculiar thing about generative AI is the output is intelligent, okay, but it's not standardized. So everybody will receive a slightly different, and this contribute to the sense of personalized learning. But I do have some problem with this personalized learning. Now we continue to analyze some of the problem with with the machine, the affordances. Hallucination, well known, false claim. Okay, Higgs et al. Written a paper in Ethics and Information Technology. The paper's title is good. It's catching. ChatGPT is bullshit. Yeah, that's the title of the paper. Okay, so fluent plausibility that may be treated as epistemic authority because the generated output most of the time is correct and the output is always fluent. It may be mistaken as a kind of epistemic authority. So this is one part that I think we need to be careful. Generative AI, pointed out by Forokhinia et al., it lacks contextual awareness of human issues, social scientific issues. It's not quite able to understand the intricacy of real-world phenomenon and unable to deal with novel situation. There are other problems that I think you are very familiar: data bias, toxicity, inaccuracy. YouTube given by Woodridge claims that it is not a mind, but this thing I think is disputable. So, in terms of understanding generative AI or AI, the potential to weaken human agency, in particular epistemic agency. So, this is one of the areas that I think if we are building the teachers' TPAC, they need to understand these issues and they need to be careful about this. Now we move into current study in terms of TPAC, what people have done in terms of the intelligent TPAC. One of the first paper that come out for measuring, to me, if you need to sort out the measuring problem first before we can kind of talk about teachers in-service courses or all kind of intervention so that you have a means to provide some kind of ways to tell that whether it's effective or not. And Cherlik is the first one who came out with this intelligent TPAC survey. His structural equational modeling clearly shows that you have technological knowledge, you need to develop into intelligent technological pedagogical knowledge and intelligent technological content knowledge before you can do the intelligent TPAC. This is his is definitely a good contribution. But you look at the items in detail, the items are crafted based on the affordance that we discussed earlier. So he has good understanding that, AI-based tools for adaptive feedback, for personalized learning, and for real-time feedback. Then she has 7 items. The first 3 items clearly reflects a kind of understanding of AI. What I want to talk about is when you create this type of instrument, you need to master what it can do. Then the items can reflect with validity. And his outcome is quite clear. But he included a new element called ethical assessment. I've done another of this TPAC published recently. So to teach subject matter with AI, the knowledge that we need is quite clearly articulated currently. These are what we call low-lying fruit. You change the items with the relevant technology, you get a new form of TPAC. So here is a more contextual study about TPAC, AI TPAC. We included techno-stress, which is the teacher side, psychological factor, teacher agency, teacher autonomy, and school support into this TPAC survey. And what we found out is actually it's a pretty simplistic or pretty obvious, intuitive study. If the teachers have AI literacy, same with Cherlik study, it does not directly predict their use of AI in the classroom. The AI literacy or AITK has to be transformed into AITPCK. The teacher has to figure out how the technology and the pedagogy can be assembled in a specific way so that they can implement it in the classroom. If they have this TPAC, the techno stress that they are facing will be reduced significantly, and with school support, it will also be reduced. And we also found out that teacher agency is important and teacher autonomy is important. The kind of knowledge needed for teacher AI literacy, generative AI related issues, TPAC for AI, and prompt engineering. This has been identified by Feldman and Megger. So, roughly, I told you that there are 11 to 15 studies in the literature that uses TPAC to understand this AI integration into classroom. The rest of the study I'm not highlighting because they are more associated with TAM model, a lot of acceptance study. But it's normal. In the initial part of a new technology, acceptance is important. Once you cross over the acceptance, the next stage will be how do you create lessons, concrete lessons with acceptance. So the creation part is important. The creation process also help teachers to build their TPAC ability. I now move to the content part. In retrospection, when we are using AI, and if we want to preserve human agency in education, I would term it as the epistemic agency is the most important part, then maybe we need to reflect. What is this content knowledge all about? I did a small talk for EDB officers in Hong Kong. So analyzing just integration of AI into science. So what is knowing science? Basically, it's given a natural phenomenon, you are able to make sense of the variables, agents, interacting, employing scientific methods. In face of a knowledge claim about natural world, you are able to assess if the claims are warranted. So that's the core of the content knowledge. When we are integrating AI, you want to create a TPAC that is really sound. You really need to think about the subject matter, the knowledge. So Tang and Cooper has pointed out that, natural science is unique because of the ontological and the epistemological understanding of nature is fundamentally rooted in our interactions with material objects in physical world. So generative AI powered by statistical probability or arising from massive corpus of text is devoid of connection to the physical world. So he pointed out that there are what is generated by generative AI is not derived through this type of understanding. So the use of generative AI does raise concerns about connection to reality and its effects on science education, which I think is a very important distinction that they are pointing out. So when we are creating IPAC, it will involve managing epistemological trade-off. So we have to do it in a way that you preserve the disciplinary ways of knowing. If not, the IPAC that is created or the use of AI integration may be misrepresenting the content area. The key question that we can ask is, when my students learn with generative AI or generative AI, will they become more able and better develop individual epistemically, educationally, or otherwise? So we need to do a lot of research in this area. I lived through the third revolution of industry, so the internet-based. So after the information revolution, so have anyone become an expert of any kind by cut and paste? That time when the internet came, there's a lot of discussion, that's where TPAC arises. The main worry is cut and paste. Now it's like AI-generated content. No one has become an expert. The answer is pretty clear. No one has become an expert. So the next question you can ask, can anyone become an expert of any kind with prompt engineering? I don't think so. Any expertise has to be properly trained. So this is the key question. And I derived 3 principles that I think when we move forward to create this IPAC, there are 3 things. The first thing is real-world knowing. All subject matter has an ontological reference, whether you are doing language, you are doing humanities, you are doing, if you want a world that they are dealing with. If you want to use Karl Popper notion, there are 3 types of world: the natural world, the created cultural world, and the third one is the ideal world. So there are 3 kind of things that the subject matters are dealing with. When we are creating IPAC, the way forward is that we remain real world focused, where whatever your subject matter is dealing with. And understanding and use AI as powerful but not error-free epistemic tools. It is not authoritative source of information. It is good, but it is not ultimate. Actually, I think the vetted textbook and the teacher, after all the training on the teachers, can be the epistemic guide. The teacher is likely to be more authoritative than the generated output of AI. So the teachers now has to act that way. Then pedagogical principles too, foster the epistemic agency for productive epistemic work. My basic belief is if we do education properly, the students as an epistemic agent, they want to know the world, and they want to, and the way to help them is to help them to construct epistemic artifact that mediates productive learning. So the form of IPAC we want to create is geared towards this direction. And in practice, it means assuming authorships, and the most important subject we author is actually ourselves, represented by our epistemic artifact. So we have to foster this very strong notion among the students that you are representing yourself, you are creating those things, you have an agency, you need to assume the authorship. Even if you create a poem with generative AI, you still decide what to include, what to exclude, how to change things. At the end of the day, if you can clearly say that this represents me, it's not a computer-generated thing, then I think the epistemic agency is preserved. And ICT can only be a mind tool, or generative AI can help in knowledge construction, and there are research, I'm involved in one of the research, it can help in those areas that there are a lot of knowledge gaps, where there are no mentors to help, okay? But still, the agency must remain with people. And I have another study that is accepted. It's among university students, so they went through 1 semester of using generative AI. The conclusion that they arrive at is agency is being preserved. Preservation of agency, frequently judge and select the information provided by ChatGPT. So after 1 term of using the ChatGPT, the students encounter first, wow, surprise, this thing can do a lot. Then the next part, this thing can lie. It give me things that are not reliable. So they have both type of experience, and then they start to develop some questioning techniques and prompts, okay? And that's where they articulate the roles of, they develop an understanding of how to use the AI. It's an information provider, inspiration source, analyzer, interactive partner. But at the end of the day, they say that my project, my report or whatever that they are working on is mine. I have to take the responsibility to check everything. So I think one of the key concerns now we have is AI dependency. It may be overrated. This is one study that showed that after experiential learning, the students actually do not trust it as an epistemic authority. But I'm not the only one who say. Brihan et al. Also did a study on writing. At the end of the semester, or the students actually feels that this can be a tool. They need to be the author. Okay, so they actually also will, less likely to use AI to write an entire paper or essay. That's what developed. So the principles remain the same. Advocate students, epistemic agency. And advancing common good, it seems that some of my research indicate that for AI education, social scientific issues are very good motivators. And the implication is teachers need to find relevant, authentic problems for students to work on. And this area, before that, when we do STEM, a lot of things students don't know. Now you have a great help, given a context of ill-structured problem. So how did I discover this? I did 4 studies on this. The first one is actually done earlier in 2019, but published in 2021. In Beijing, there is a group of 600 over students, or they were initiated into what is AI, so they were taught about basic knowledge of AI. So we measure AI and the self-efficacy of the students, AI for social good, and this readiness for AI. The behavioral intention is used as a dependent variable in the sense that if I learn something and I want to learn some more, that's a good learning. If I learn something, after that I say, no more, that's bad learning. So I use that as a dependent variable. So from the structural equational modeling, you can see that social good stand out to be one of the connector of all to mediate for this behavioral intention. I repeated it with secondary school under the context of a project-based learning. We found the same thing. Social good is one of the major motivator. So I tried to do a moderation study and found that social good is a main motivator for the students to learn about AI. And then in 2024, I did the university level study. University students, it also emerged as one of the main contributor for students' continuous intention to learn about AI. So I think we can skip this. Yeah, these are emerging study lah. When we are designing, okay, to arrive at IPAC, teachers need to design. We need to design together with teacher. So when we are designing, the consideration should be is the use of tools and how it is used developing students' competency. Is the use of tools and how is it used fostering students' autonomy in terms of subjectification and epistemic agency. Subjectification is a term from Guy Beister that talks about bringing up the person as a subject of his own life. Okay, he or she more able to be a person capable of productive reasoning about the subject matter, and it's the use of AI tools or how it is used, helping students to contribute to common good. In Asia context, or the students that I am in contact with, I think the purpose of learning is a very important issue that they are dealing with. Asian students generally fare very well in examinations, but yeah, they also have a lot of anxiety because if you are not clear why you are learning, or the learning can be a torturous endeavor. So that's the conclusion that I will make for today's presentation.
Professor Sai, thank you for a lovely and inspiring talk on this theme base, on the theme of C7. I would now invite the audience for questions. We have a session at 11, so we will take two questions from the audience, please. Yeah.
Hello, wonderful presentation, thank you. I take Gen AI in education space nowadays as analogous to 80s and 90s space of education where calculators were introduced. Calculators were there and the system was stopping the students from using them. Students were forthcoming in using them. 10 years forward, it was part of the whole content and curriculum was designed so that the calculators become the aid of learning. It's not something opposite. So how do you see the education system now is going to adopt that, and how? And what concrete actions as a system we need to take so that Gen AI become the aid of learning, not something that becomes the plagiarism tool?
So from a teacher-educator point of view, we need to cast generative AI as a tool. Okay, so yeah, and rather than as something that you can cut and paste. And I think if you explain to students, and if students have a clear purpose, they don't use Gen AI as a replacement of themselves. I don't think so. To prevent the negative side from happening, we have to emphasize the purpose of learning. Why are you learning something? You're developing yourself, and if you give up on that, there's no purpose. Yeah, whatever pedagogy, it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, so I think I will go the more philosophical response for the students.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Sai. I think it was inspiring because he balanced between the theoretical foundations, the evidences, and also inspired new questions that are required in this field. Without further ado, first, let's give a round of applause for our team-based speaker. You want to get the next one? Yeah. Would be around. So if you want to keep the conversation on, please feel free to meet him and have this conversation on. Thank you for joining on this session. Thank you.